Hey, what's going on, my contractor brethren? Quick video today about who owns your stuff. And I'm talking about your marketing stuff. This has been a topic of conversation for me ever since I got into the marketing world like 9 years ago. And I would hear stories about contractors and business owners in general who would hire marketing companies, and when they tried to cut ties or tried to cancel services, the marketing company would keep their domain, their website, their Google listing, whatever. They would keep their stuff. And the person I was talking to would be like, so we're basically starting from scratch. We don't have anything. We invested this money, but we have nothing to show for it because the last company we worked with kept all of our stuff. And so when I started Adapt Digital Solutions, that was like a core tenet, is we're never going to, our clients own everything we make. We're never going to hold stuff hostage. But I'm making this video because I think it's maybe becoming more prevalent than it used to be. There's some really big companies out there. I'm not going to mention any by name. But one of them keeps popping up because we have between 100 and 200 customers at any given time. And there's this company who boasts having like 23,000 contractors paying them for marketing. And they're like systematically going after our clients. And so I get to hear what they're saying. I get to hear their sales pitch. They're super aggressive. They contact business owners out of the blue, say all this stuff, say whatever they need to say to get their business. And then the first thing they do is have their new customer transfer ownership of all of their stuff to their company. And whenever I hear of anything like that happening, that's a huge red flag to me. Because when we start working with a new customer, like, we do not want ownership. We want to make sure our client owns the things, and then they can give us manager access. And if all of this sounds like gibberish to you, then you definitely need to hear this. Like, you should never be transferring ownership of your domain name, of your Google listing, of those kinds of like core business assets. Your domain name is like the name of your website, www.yourwebsite.com. That's your domain. If you transfer that to someone else, you are at their mercy if they're going to give it back to you or not. And while companies like mine would never keep it, there's a lot of companies out there that will, or they'll try to sell it back to you, or they'll try to use it to force you to keep working with them. So same with your Google listing. I just saw one of our clients who went with this other company transferred or gave this company ownership access, which is completely unnecessary. They don't need ownership access. They can do everything they need to do with manager access. So it's just a huge red flag. Why would they want ownership access? Well, funny enough, like that happened last week or something like that. And then yesterday I talked to this guy who he used to use this company. Like, he's coming to us from them, and he's saying, yeah, they have my domain. They won't give it to me. They told me when I signed up that I owned all the content on the website, but I guess I didn't understand that I didn't own the actual website, so my website's gone, and he can't get access to his Google listing. So he's basically starting from absolute scratch again. But it's even worse because there's a bunch of online stuff about his company that he no longer has control over. It's not him anymore. It's like, so, just be mindful of this stuff. It took before I started learning about this marketing stuff, and I was just a carpenter, a contractor, I didn't know any of this. And it was really easy for me to be taken advantage of. And I see a lot of guys getting taken advantage of because they don't understand what's going on. So look, you can't rely on anyone else to do the due diligence for you. You just have to learn this stuff. And one day at a time. There's YouTube channels like mine where I've been talking about this stuff for years. If you watch enough of those videos, you'll have a really good understanding of what's going on. But, Moral of the story, be super weary of any marketing company who contacts you out of the blue to sell you stuff, demands that you do long-term contracts, and tells you to transfer ownership of your assets to them. Don't do that. Bad idea.